It's okay, Mr. Mask. I'll keep you safe. What was that sound? No! 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 Whoa. I have eyes! Hello and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're looking over set number 8923, Hydraxon. The set contains approximately 165 pieces, was released in summer of 2007, and during time of release was about $20. Yikes. Alright, hi Hydraxon. Real quick story. Back in 2007, a little bit after 2006, a wee little Mesnak walks into a Walmart, and being a big fan of 2006, already knew about Axon, Butaka, so on and so forth. So he walks in, he hasn't seen the leaked photos or the preliminaries or anything. I mean, I did, but he hadn't. He didn't know who this guy was. Walks into Walmart in 2007, sees him on the wall. Whoa, Hydraxon? It's Hydraxon. This happened, and I'm pretty sure you guys thought it too. Story time aside, let's get into the review with a disclaimer. Just because a pro or a con is here in this video does not necessarily mean it is my opinion. The pros and the cons are here for one of two reasons. Either one, these are pros and cons I've heard from community members over the several years the set has been out and I have owned him and others have owned him. Or two, these are pros and cons that I've personally experienced firsthand. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the review with the pros. Right off the bat, standard points of articulation, 3 in the arms, 3 in the legs, and 1 in the head. However, he technically has an additional 3 in his hands. Oh my goodness, guys! He's got hands! It's an opposable thumb! And that is 1, 2, 4. 4 in his hands. So that's really cool. He also has an additional 2 on his back, which works out well. Other pros would be his color scheme, which is for the most part pretty consistent, being black and silver. Minute splashes of gray, of course, and the occasional red and blue. We'll get to that in a second, guys. Other pros would be his build. Now it is a standard Anika build, or at least it is a base Anika build. However, it is very custom. There's a lot of modification made to it. Very clearly, he's using a Paraka foot as a torso. Yeah, I'm just putting it out there. Other cons would be, well, his hands. Now, he's not the first Bionicle set to have moving fingers, or fingers at all. However, he is the first to use this design, and possibly the last. However, I'm not subscribed to that idea of him being the last. If I'm wrong, let me know. However, he is most certainly the first to use the Exoforce finger design, which is kind of cool. It really works for him. Another pro would be his weaponry. Now, as we can see here, he's got the smaller version of these Hukimari blades. He has the Matoran blades up here. He has Matoromari's claws, which are actually boomerangs here. And he has some recolors. He has a Prydak blade in silver. That is really cool. He also has these in silver. Now, Gadunka also had these recolored in silver, but I forgot to mention it there, so I'm mentioning it here. Now, the pro would be the new piece, and that would be his mask, or at least his face, or breathing apparatus. I really forget what this thing is, but it's not a mask. So, that's neat to see. Overall, he has a pretty consistent look. Oh, he also has the Mari tubes, and the Kordak blaster, of course. Speaking of which, another pro would be the Kordak blaster. As we can see here, it's kind of mounted to his wrist. Very similar to Hukimari, but he's actually got a hand. We also see he has the 3 extra Kordak rockets down toward his feet, which is also nice. Now, the Kordak blaster is an air-powered launcher, and it works like so. Take these 2 fingers and this thumb, put them like this, and revel in the mixed results. When it does work very well. So a lot of people would consider that to be a pro. So that pretty much wraps it up. It's not a long list of pros, but they are a lot of solid pros. It's really nice to see the set. He's very consistent. He has a very imposing build. The fingers are really cool. The way he has his Kodak blaster mounted is also really neat. And this whole contraption here just looks threatening. So that is a really cool design. And it's really nice to see. He is definitely the jailer of the pit. Speaking of which, his backstory is, Hydraxon was an Order of Matanui member. He trained the Toamata when they were created. Later on, he went to be the warden of the pit and died. Sorry, sucker. The one we see in the 2007 story is actually Descartes, who's been transformed by the Mask of Life into a reincarnated version of, well, Hydraxon, with all of the Hydraxon's memories. And he can't remember that he was ever anyone else. So he's basically Hydraxon. So there you go. Now it's time to get on to the cons. What makes this set a little bit less worth going back and getting. Right off the bat, he's a little bit gappy. You thought I was going to say something else. That's coming, just wait. He is a little bit gappy, unfortunately, because of his torso construction. As you can see, we have some gaps here. Now, this is subverted slightly on the side because of these tubes, which is actually really nice. However, in the back, he's very unarmored. He's got a lot of tube gaps, and that does look very unorthodox. His legs are also quite gappy as well. Another con would be his shoulder armor. Because it's a very loose construction, if his arms are out for any reason, then this will kind of move around a bit. They do shake, actually, quite a lot. Hear that? And that's kind of disconcerting. So his arms can't move up a whole lot without interfering with the shoulder armor. Another con would be his fingers. They're very, I don't want to say fragile, but they're not very stable either. They can very easily fall off of his hands, so you got to keep close eyes on them. Another con would be the open pins and axles. He's actually got really odd black pins just sticking out here, and I, for the life of me, can't figure out why. I mean, maybe if you take it out. No, his torso armor doesn't shake a whole lot on its own. Is it meant to fill up gaps? Why can't you do that with a smaller pin? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He's also got some open axles all over his legs. And, now this is unusual, even in the back, he's got this here. I can't for the life of me figure out why he has two random blue pins in his legs that do nothing. Maybe you guys know. Please let me know if you do. Another con would be the Kodak blaster and its arrangement. It falls off very easily. Now obviously I shoved it off there, but that's just an example of how easily it can fall off. If you're not careful, it will slip off and you may even lose it. Another con, his head articulation, while it is fine, is a little bit unorthodox with how these tubes, the tubes here, and these kind of back blades intermix. It's kind of an unusual arrangement, kind of forces these tubes into a position they don't want to be in, so you got to be very careful of that. And finally, not even finally, there's one other thing after this. Let's get to the crux of this issue, the red and blue pins. Hydraxon has a solid color scheme, don't get me wrong. But what in the world are all of these blue pins? Please tell me. Blue pins. And you guys, please go and look at my Holly and my new Mari reviews for everything that is kind and blue and red pinless in the world. Look at this. Definitely a con. It breaks up the solidity of his color scheme. Now, the red Kodak rounds and the Kodak blaster do the same thing as well. However, those are optional. You can take those off. These red and blue pins are a solid part of his construction. And please, for the love of Matanui, tell me, what are these things used for? They're literally random blue pins for the sake of being random blue pins. Okay, calming down now. With that out of the way, let's get to the final con, the Kodak blaster. When it works, it does certainly work. However, when it doesn't, the Kodak rounds will just fail to launch, as you saw earlier. Not to mention the Kodak are very easy to lose, so you gotta keep a close eye on them. He also, as per usual, has an uneven amount of Kodak rounds. So he has 2 on one foot and 1 on the other, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But with all that aside, Hydraxon is an interesting looking set. He's not the tallest, he's not the meanest, he's not even the most well built or the worst built, but he is just good. He's a solid set for what he is, even with the occasional gap in the copious amount of red and blue pins. You gotta keep a close eye on the Kodak blaster and his hands, but he does look menacing enough to be a formidable foe to anyone that tries to escape. So that has been my review of Hydraxon. What do you guys think? Do you like him? Do you think he's a good jailer? Do the red and blue pins irk you? Let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. Thank you all very much for watching, and join me next week when I go over his sworn nemesis and former helper, Maxillos and Spinax. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.